This episode is sponsored by Shutterstock.com. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off, head on over to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER7. This episode is also brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legendary. I almost ran out of breath on that. Tonight, WoW, it's dead again, so you might as well just pack up and leave. We've got some rumors about the WoW movie, and the Titan sub model is revealed. All that and more coming up. But first, joining us from WoW Insider Zam right here on Gamebreaker TV. From the library in that English countryside, y'all know her, y'all love her. Throw up them ones. It's Olivia De Grace.
Throw up them ones?
Throw
What
up
does
them
that even
ones.
mean?
I don't know. Chat room's gonna start throwing up ones though here in a second because I asked for it.
There we go, look. Some ones for you, chat room. I threw them up.
Yeah.
Oh, gross. I didn't literally throw them up. That would be disgusting.
And again
Awkward.
this week, joining us all the way from Convert to Raid, wine connoisseur Pat Crane.
Hello.
How's it
Hello
going?
there. I switched to wine this week because I ran out of beer. So it's all good.
Yeah.
All right, I switched to a very nice clear wine too.
Yeah, me too.
I think you might have heard of it.
I've got a pint of vodka. It's just vodka. This is vodka.
Yeah.
It's just
All
vodka.
that vodka is going down in the matter of one show. This is gonna get
That's right.
interesting.
It's not really
That's
vodka.
right.
And-
It is.
As well, joining us from the Convert to Raid podcast, asparagus lover and warlock hater extraordinaire, Mr. Coltrane.
Warlock hater. Oh, Mike, you can't say that. I have enough bat guano that's sent to me in game. Well, I do play a mage, so in honor of Chris Handel, buff mages. But I love you, warlocks.
No
more bat
You know
guano.
what?
Yeah,
You know what?
you're a warlock
I rescind my invitation to come on tonight's show. If you're gonna say that, get out.
You're
Get
right, I
out.
apologize.
You gotta
got
pick a
off it.
side, man. You gotta pick a side. And just
You're right.
That's right.
There is a
stick
rivalry.
with it.
There is a rivalry between
It's
mages
true.
and warlocks. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
think-
It's
I
like
think,
the
though-
Lakers and the Clippers.
I think at this point we've got two people on here from CTR. We might as well just call this
Yeah.
Convert to Legendary. Just might as well.
I'm good with that. I am so good with that. That's awesome. I
This
love
episode,
it.
this
Yes.
episode's called Convert to Legendary. I don't know.
All right,
that might not
let me write
happen,
this
but
down. Let me write this down. 'Cause
I
that's
approve.
legendary.
I approve of that.
That's right.
I thought
Hello,
you meant-
welcome.
all right. First up this week, eventually, there will be a week where we don't start talking about news about the in-game store. However, this week is not one of those weeks. We got to start it off. There's some big news. The store went live. Ellipses. ... Ish. On the PTR this week. You actually had to run a script to get it up and working. However, it was all in working order on the PTR. We've got a little bit of B-roll here. So while I show it, what did you guys think of what's kind of popped up? Is it the store that you guys were looking for? Or
Well,
you think
first
that
of
there's-
all, who pronounces ellipses? That's
Ellipses.
all I'm going to say about
Read
that.
that. You read the ellipses out.
He's got a point.
He has got a point, definitely.
No,
I
this,
know.
this
I thought it was quite. It looks quite nice and clean and inoffensive. That's my main. That's the buzzword I'm going to go for with the store. Is inoffensive.
yes, I actually like it. I'm good with even saying that I like it. How about that?
Ooh.
I geeked out, man. When I saw it, I geeked out because I thought I saw the possibilities. Like, we've got this elixir of wisdom that'll grant you XP for an hour. An hour, Blizz? This thing better be like a few bucks. If this goes to
really, that's a good question.
come
actually.
on.
The price point. Okay, so legendary crew, put yourself back on the mic, Shafnet. Come on, let's have the 4. Demanding
right here?
cameras
Here we go.
now.
All right,
okay,
here we go.
So let's go quickly. How much would you pay for it, Mike Shafnet? Is he over there?
An hour-long experience buff.
100% XP buff, persists through death. How much would you pay for it? Go.
No more than $2.
Pat Crane, who's
$0.
$0.
I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do
Can't
it.
do it. You're not down with it.
I'm
You
not
just
saying
not-
I'd do it either.
not
I'm
willing
just
to
saying
pay for it at all.
I can't pay
Would
for it.
you? You can't.
I
You can't
won't.
bring yourself.
No, I can't.
You say that now. You say
Right.
that now, buddy.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
When you're leveling up your alts through Outlands, you might have a different change of heart. I'm telling you.
Not me.
I just go-
give
I just go
me
PvP.
an elixir that reduces my experience so I can enjoy Outlands more.
That's right.
Oh,
I'm sure
Trying
you
to-
could do with that.
trying to relive last week, aren't you? When we all
Yep.
just ganged up on you about Outlands.
You know what? I'll still
You just
stand by
gotta
the
just
fact
take
I
all your
like
geeking.
Outlands.
Just take all your gear off, quit your guilds. We could help with this. We could help you to
All
not
right,
gain
good.
XP.
Good.
Right.
Quest
good.
really inefficiently.
I want to go to every
no, wait, Coltrane.
zone.
It's got to be Coltrane. It's got to be his number. What?
I'm going to go
Coltrane.
with $15, Olivia.
You're gonna-
It's
what?
worth it, totally. Yes, for the
Okay, get
cosmetic
$15
health,
an
and
elixir
it's
for an
15
hour?
American dollars.
Get out.
No,
15 American
I would say
dollars.
like like $1, $2. Like the only thing that I do like about it is that the countdown stops when you log out of the game. So that's
Right.
great. So you're not like, having dinner with the wife like, honey, I got 20 minutes left on this XP bump. I gotta
You
wrap this up."
better turn the oven on warm.
That's right.
I gotta.
So it's good that it at least pauses.
Yeah, it should. Like, I feel like it should. Like, everything else does. Like, your flask. Like, if you go into a raid and you flask up, then that
Mhm.
persists whilst you like, it just sits there on the timer stopped while you log out. It doesn't sort of keep on ticking. And you log back in, you're like, oh, look, I still have all this buff time left. But yeah, if it, if it did that would be really awful. It's like you bought it and then, power cut, trolled, buy another
Right.
one.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, you couldn't do that. And you also can't click it off. You can't right click it off because someone asked me this and I was like, why? And I guess you might right click off, like if a paladin is totally trolling you. Not that I've ever done anything like this. I never troll people with bot, with hand of protection.
No, never.
Almost never.
Almost.
Never do that. And so
Right.
like you might be right clicking off a buff there. And I know that some people, like one of my friends who I play WoW with, actually dismounts by right clicking off the mount buff. So I guess for people like I know what.
What?
So I guess for people like that, it's a good thing. You can't, like, I tried on the PTR and you literally can't right click it off, so you can't actually drop it by accident, and it persists through death. I went and got myself killed, which is actually quite an effort on a level 1 out in the start zone. I went and got myself killed to make sure it does persist through death.
See, now,
It doesn't stop counting if you're AFK though. That's the only thing. And there were people complaining about that. It's like, dude.
I understand the want for something like this, but at the same time, I always kind of go back to leveling experiences that I'm doing even now with different alts and stuff like that. So right now I'm going through doing different alt runs and doing dungeon runs, and if you're in the low 20s or something like that, this thing really does not make any sense whatsoever. It's only when you get into like Mists of Pandaria level type stuff where you start to feel the real drag of leveling, because the XP gains, they're not slowing down really, but they're not nerfed enough.
Exactly. And
Heaven
everything that you
forbid
can
the
get, like,
expansion that just came out, they want you to still see the content at a reasonable
I know,
pace. They don't want you to fly
Shut up.
through it.
And I'm
Shut up.
okay with that.
I'm
I'm
long
okay with
enough.
that.
We're
I'm
done
okay
with this now. We're done with this expansion. It's over. We're moving on.
But by the way,
Very
BC was like a couple of expansions ago. I'm not sure if you know that or not, but
was it?
whatever.
Yeah. Did you get that memo, by the way?
I
It's all about
forgot.
pandas now.
I was still trying to kill Illidan.
That's your problem. Okay.
Well, it's a funny thing. Something
So,
like
like,
this.
Literally, I've just leveled the shaman from 0 to 89, and everything like that. I think like we got from 0 to 80 in fewer than 20 played hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
It's-
the like 80 to 85 took a bit longer, and then the 85 to 89 has just been like
Snail's crawl.
like
Yeah.
I will like you can really, because you feel the drop off, you lose your like it was refer a friend, so we refer a friend level, so you feel like that stops at 80, and the heirlooms mostly stop at 80, and like all of the other stuff that you can get, that's all like obviously you can upgrade your heirlooms to 85 now, but it's just like it stops and you're just like, oh my god, this 85 to 80 89 90 is punishing. Like,
Right.
it just feels really slow. And it was the same with Cataclysm. Like, the last few levels felt really, really, really sluggish and tiresome. And I can see myself totally. I think I would definitely, like, for one potion for 1 hour, like, $1 seems to be about what I would be happy with paying. But I could totally see myself buying it.
Oh, it's loading up. No, absolutely.
Pulling focus back into the UI design. I mean, what do you guys think about how clean this looks? I mean, it's rather inoffensive, and do you think this is going to kind of calm people down about the store?
Wait, hold on a second. You're talking about people calming down for the store? No, that part is never going to happen. I'm sorry.
Like, I can see it a little bit. But, like, I guess people might have been afraid about it being like all bells and whistles and, sweatbox laser beams, flashing lights, that sort of thing. But it's not. It's kind of very standard issue, like the little button, which you can't actually see on the B-roll at the moment because of the lower third, but it's just a little WoW symbol on the button. Like, you just see it there. I'm leaning in to see if you can see it at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, maybe. And it's tiny. It's really small and it's really inoffensive, and you wouldn't necessarily notice it. So maybe, but then the people who are really angry about the store are going to be really angry about the store, whatever it looks like.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
well, there's other MMOs out there that, like, I think it's like Lord of the Rings Online, where it's like, congratulations, you've completed a quest. Here's a store. It's like in your face. You know what I mean?
Right.
And and also, I think it's in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now that they've gone free to play, it's kind of interesting with that one. You level up to like level 10. It's like, congrats on level 10. If you pay for the game, you can level up twice as fast if you just click this button. It's like, it's kind of like a reverse thing. But I personally love the UI. It's very Blizzard. It's very clean. It's very easy to see, to read. I saw the first item on there. I got excited. I wanted to click that next button to see what else was on there. I mean, this is one thing that I really dig about a lot of these free-to-play MMOs. This is how they make their money, is through the store. And that's essentially in every MMO nowadays. And it's a funny thing when you think of World of Warcraft, that's the only one that doesn't have it. So for me, I'm okay with the store being brought to WoW because that's what I'm used to with other MMOs. So I don't know. I know there's been a ton of uproar, but I don't know. The UI looks clean. It looks good. And it's funny when you were talking about Olivia, all we're doing now is like leveling to 90. Like, that's the goal for a lot of us. I mean, not for brand new players, but it's all about heirloom gear, and then like, oh, this is fast, and then it really slows down from 85 to 90. It's a funny thing about how we look at WoW now. You know what I mean? It's not so much like the content. And this is also the end of an expansion, but it's about just getting to 90. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
It's kind of a
sure.
funny thing.
Well, and I think that we probably have a little bit of a skewed version of World of Warcraft, as opposed to somebody dropping into the game just fresh off the right out of nowhere, coming into the game. But we have a very skewed version of this where we take a look at a low-level character and we say, okay, well, it's going to take me so many hours to get up to 90, and then the game can really begin.
Right.
And that's not the way that a lot of people see this game. A lot of people really do enjoy questing and pet battles and PvP, low-level PvP stuff and all this other kind of. So, I mean, we take a look at this, and it's just very skewed, very weird, very strange to some of those new folks that are coming into the game right now. So,
yeah.
Definitely. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the XTS currency here. Obviously, we've talked about battle coins, and it even says, I believe it here, it says something, prices in test currency. Do we think that this XTS is going to be replaced with the battle coins that we were talking about last week?
It's definitely I think it seems to make sense. I mean, it's they haven't, it was kind of an element of wait and see with the discussion we had last week about whether they would bring in a battle coin, like an RP style, like Riot's RP system. and they would use that as a replacement for your local currency. It does actually say on one of the screens in there, and I'm down if I can remember which one, prices will be in your local currency. But then that could just mean like they'll change it.
Right.
But it's like, it seems to make sense. It seems to be the logical thing to do. And the way that the store's laid out, it seems like to me, it just looks like they're going to be using a point system, but then they could equally just put it in sterling, or just put it in dollars, or put it in euros, or God, I mean, the million currencies we have here on the EU.
Right. You think there were this Xerox transmission system, I think, which XTS obviously stands for. We'll probably change that for the US, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
Maybe.
I don't know. I think almost the point system would be better, because then you could really kind of, make it for every single currency out there, and kind of weigh it a little bit differently for each currency that's available to these guys. So I don't know. I mean, I think that might be almost the better way to go, or the easier way to go for the Blizz store. Just say it's worth X number of points, and hey, here you go. Now here's how you buy these points.
Well, it's also not as freaky when you're like, well, this costs $5. Like, that's kind of like $5.
Well,
I'm paying $50 a month. But if it's like 10 points, like, well, 10 points.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that people who are sort of less pro the store than perhaps the three of us, who are sort of like either chilled about it, kind of okay about it, or happy about it. Like, people are saying, well, this is evidence that Blizzard are turning into an evil corporate conglomerate. They've gone from being Apple to being Microsoft.
But
and they've like become the baddie because they're like, it's a psychological trick. So you have to then make a conversion. It's like when you go abroad to, I don't know, when you go to Sweden, well, maybe you don't, maybe when you go to a different country and you're trying to do the currency conversion in your head, and you can't quite work out how much you're spending, you sort of have this vague notion of like, oh, well, a Swedish crown is about 1/10 of a pound roughly, but it's actually not that at all. You're wrong. You don't know how to do the math if you're me, and you end up spending more than you think you are because you can't make that conversion. So it's just like, there's a sort of Blizzard are doing this psychological trickery with the currency because they're evil and they're trying to steal all your money. And I really hope they don't do the sort of Microsoft thing where they're like, hey, you can buy 10 points at a time. Everything costs 15, by the way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of one of those things where you look at it and you go, they could work it a couple of different ways, and it depends on exactly how they lay it out and how it all kind of forms, I guess. But I mean, this could be either, I mean, you can look at it that way, sure, as like them being the evil corporation, but at the end of the day, they have stockholders just like every other company. They have to answer to those stockholders, and they actually have to answer for a little bit more, as we talked about last week and as we'll talk about this week. I mean, with the loss of subs, this is one of the things that they have to answer for, and they also have to figure out a way to bolster their numbers as far as money coming in to offset all of the losses that they've had over the last few quarters, year, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a have-to thing for any corporate entity, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Now, right now, they're actually only selling a single item on the store right now, the Enduring Elixir of Wisdom. But what I think I really like about this UI design is I think it's not even just, obviously they're looking at creating items like the helmets and the cosmetic items for purchase of real world currency. We saw that with the helmets. But I don't know, like stuff like that and mounts and pets, I think could all fit into this UI in a very easy fashion. And I think that they could potentially increase sales because more people are willing to dabble with it once it's actually implemented into the game. So many people, I don't want to say so many people don't know that they exist on the website, but I think that having this integrated into the game is probably going to increase sales on all their other store items as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just a huge difference between having to click out to the Battle.net pet store. And it's not actually the easiest thing to find either. Like, you go onto the World of Warcraft site, and unless they're directly advertising something on there, it doesn't sort of obviously point you in the direction of the Battle.net pet store. I know a friend of mine's sister contacted me saying, I want to buy my brother who's in my guild something in-game for Christmas. How do I do it? And, like, she's a smart kid. She's a smart girl. And I was like, wow, you can't work that out? That's really indicative of, like, Blizzard should try harder with that. And I just sent her a link straight to the store. And once she was there, she was fine with it. But it's just like, that's interesting. Like, is it that hard to find it from the World of Warcraft website? and maybe people will end up buying a ton more of the stuff. And I think, like, you know, the elixir of enduring wisdom is obviously bind on account, so you can send it to alts. So it's like I can see people buying these and actually directly gifting them in game, or like buying them in game and using them as reward. Like if they do it so that you can do that, obviously, and then buying them, like using them for prizes for stuff. And it's just like a much more of an impulse buy thing.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say it's exactly like going to the supermarket or wherever and going to the checkout lane, and then you see all the candy like right there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's the candy. I want some candy. Now I really want some candy. So you go and you just like purge on all this candy. So that's kind of what it's going to be, or that's what I envision it to be more like anyway with an in-game store. It's going to be impulse buys. It's going to be, oh man, that guy has that mount. I bet I could get that mount in the store, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just go and grab it. And so you automatically you have a mount. Awesome. You know, and that could be a really cool way for buyers as well as the company if they're both into, you know, working together on that. So I think it's a good thing.
I got a crazy conspiracy theory here.
Ooh. Like those.
This whole like Blizzard is evil. So here's a little conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah.
So as we know right now, this store, as we're calling it, is for other like regions, right? Like that's what they're saying, right? It's like the Korean market or something like that, right?
Rolling out in Asia first, yeah.
Asia, right. But it's on the PTR here. Do you think that they're saying, oh, it's for over there, but they released the data here to gauge American interest, to see how we feel about it? Like, are we freaking out? And if we are initially, are we going to eventually back off? Like when those amounts came out, like the pet store, remember the Sparkle Pony? When that thing first popped on the scene, everyone was like, what is this? You can buy mounts with real money? Blizzard! Like, it was just terrible. But then after a while, it was like no big deal, and it was fine. And mounts have been a high-selling thing for a while, and nobody even gives it a second look. Do you wonder if maybe this is like just to gauge interest, like see the reaction of people? And if not that, maybe this is our initial reaction, and then it'll calm down after a while. And then when they bring it to the U.S., we've already known about it for several months now. Maybe we won't be as fired up.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably a little bit more than that. If truth be told here, I think that, you know, and we've talked about it on this show a little bit beforehand, and it seems to make sense to me. You know, the store idea is nothing new for a lot of free-to-play games and for a lot of MMOs in general. So doing something like this, maybe setting themselves up for the next thing, for, you know, the Titans of the world, for, you know, maybe the day that World of Warcraft may consider going free to play. It could happen. It could happen. So I mean, you know, this kind of sets them up a little bit for a lot of different things, and I think that you could say that it's going all sorts of different ways if you really want to.
Well, I want Pandaren Express to be delivered to my house.
You want to buy pizza through the in-game store.
That and Pizza Hut and Mountain Dew.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the in-game advertising? Weren't they going to put like billboards in Stormwind and
Right.
Buy a hat. It's only $15.
Exactly.
Shut up. Listen.
All right.
It still has so much pent-up rage, you guys.
I know. A little high. I agree with you.
I like it.
All right. Next up, there have been some rumors spreading about the Warcraft movie. A website called Bleeding Cool has posted some information that they've pieced together. I got a track going behind me. I'm trying to cover it as best I can. All right, so Bleeding, a website called Bleeding Cool has posted some information that they've pieced together about the plot and the actors playing the roles. So according to these guys, the plot centers around Khadgar and his experiences with Medivh. So perhaps we're looking at a trip that's kind of going back to the First War. They kind of mentioned that, right? About originally going back to the First War with the plot. I think that was originally in the cards. As well as they're saying Johnny Depp is still on the rumored actor list. So first off, what's your guys' knee-jerk reaction if it is the plot to be going back to the First War? Are you guys excited?
Absolutely. I mean, this is kind of one of the. I mean, if we're talking about first war stuff, then we're talking about high fantasy type of a movie. I mean, we're not talking about kind of the more casual stuff, I guess, that we're kind of accustomed to in game. It's not trying to remake something that is in the game right now, which I think is kind of cool, and it could be kind of a Lord of the Rings-esque, by the sounds of things, type of movie, which could be even better. I mean, really, when you're talking about it, Lord of the Rings is kind of like the ultimate geek factor for movies.
Yeah,
and that is really cool.
Well, a great thing too about Lord of the Rings is that it brought this fantasy era to everyone, like to the general public. Like the money that it made was so huge, and so many people got turned on to that type of fantasy. And this first war stuff, I mean, we're talking like medieval, like mages and explosions and magic. Like that's awesome. And you're right, it's not like casual, like, I'm really upset. Yeah, so am I. All right, cool. All right, we'll talk later. You know, hey, that's my son. Like, it's none of that. It's like dark portals opening up and the Burning Legion and like medieval, you know, or medieval. Like, it's just awesome. Yeah, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it does sound pretty cool. I mean, I have to say, like, as someone who's not so into the lore side of things, like, I definitely enjoy it, but I don't know that much about it. I was very much like, okay, I've kind of heard of medieval, but I don't really know what you're talking about.
You should have heard of Khadgar and his whiskers if you were any
I've heard
kind
of his whiskers. I've gathered many of his whiskers around the world. I've gathered many a whisker of Khadgar, and I'm just like, I don't really know what this is like. If it had been something more current, then maybe I'd have been more excited. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, I'm totally going to go and see it, obviously. Huge WoW geek. But I was just like, this is sort of like, oh, cool. That's nice. Excellent. I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
That's what I've got. I'm not like, oh my god,
right,
like I would have been if it, I don't know what would maybe give that reaction, but just something more current, perhaps.
Your excitement level is very underwhelming right now.
Yes.
It's suboptimal.
Right. Well, it is.
Well, it's a funny thing because it starts so early too. This leaves room for a sequel. This leaves room for other movies, other stories. You know, this is really, it's, in a way, it's like a prequel. Like, it's just so early on. I mean, this movie could literally end with, like, open the dark portal. You know, and then, like, two guys are like, here they come, and then directed by Duncan Jones.
What a great way, though, to bring people back into the Warcraft franchise that have maybe never taken the time to experience the lore. Maybe that'll rope in players who have never played it. Or maybe it'll rope back old players. It's like, oh, this is Warcraft. I didn't get to. I didn't know this story that was going on. Now I do.
Right. Well, and there is a lot of value to lore and to opening it up to new audiences and figuring out what that means exactly. So it should be an interesting thing to see exactly how the movie affects the game. Really, at this point, I mean, the game has been around for so damn long, and now having a movie about it is just really awesome for me because, you know, getting to interact with these characters a little bit more and being able to see them on the screen, that's awesome. But also seeing how it influences the game as it comes out, that's gonna be pretty cool to see what happens.
Yeah, sure.
I'm jazzed, man. Especially with The Hobbit now, it's like re-pumped everybody up into this fantasy genre.
Continuous fantasy stuff just like coming out all the time. It's exciting.
That's it, exactly. That's all we need. You know, we're geeks, man. This is the stuff we geek out about, you know? So I'm jazzed. I like this time period, and with all the special effects, it's just gonna be awesome.
I mean, it's gotta be a difficult task in making a movie for obviously a dedicated fan base that already exists, but at the same time making an appeal to an audience that kind of is a lot broader. Do you guys think do you guys think that they're making a good choice here? Because it's so tough. Because it's so, like, it's going to be looked under a microscope so hard by World of Warcraft players, but at the same time, they're most likely trying to reinvent it and keep it open enough so that new people can experience the movie. I'm trying to think if there was a movie that just recently came out and did something very similar, and they talked about the same thing. Scott Pilgrim. And it wasn't recently, but that was one of those things where they tried to open it up to make changes and make it a little bit more broader to the masses.
Sure.
Scott Pilgrim was well received. Didn't do well in theaters, but I don't know. Do you think it's a difficult task?
I think this is brilliant. Go ahead, Pat.
No, you go for it. You're in Hollywood.
Right,
You're in Hollywood.
That's right. I'm here live. I just had lunch with Spielberg. He says hi, by the way, Olivia.
Awesome.
Oh, yay.
Pat, you owe him money, but he's
right. I know.
But well, it's a funny thing because you got to look at the audience, and you've got Warcraft players, this whole world. That's us geeks, and then you've got the masses, right? So how do you appeal to the masses? Well, fortunately, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit has already brought the masses to this fantasy genre, right? So they're somewhat locked in. Now, what's going to really get them there is, as far as the trailer goes, you're going to need a lot of special effects, a lot of cool-looking visuals, a lot of that eye candy that people feel. They look at this and say, yeah, I'll spend $12.50 to go see this in the theater on opening weekend. I'll do that. Now, as far as the Warcraft audience goes, it's a story that we're not as familiar with. Now, a lot of people played the Warcraft games like back in the day, but the majority of players now is in World of Warcraft. You can just tell by the subscription numbers. So if they did a story like Arthas, right? That was a central story in the World of Warcraft game. That's a story that players, we already know. So if it's Arthas, we'd be like, well, it's Arthas. Like, I know where this is going. Like, I might not be as willing to, I won't be as excited about it. But Khadgar and Medivh, like, that's a cool and interesting story. Like, the opening of the Dark Portal, that was a huge part of the Burning Crusade expansion. Like, how did this come about? And right now, the only stuff you can find is in the old games and books and stuff, but it's not as a well-known thing. So I think that it's a really smart way of, you're going to get the masses, big special effects, the masses already dig this fantasy thing, and you're going to get this Warcraft audience because it's not as familiar of a story as, say, Arthas.
Right, and Duncan Jones was actually at Comic-Con, and he before they brought out the clip that nobody outside of Comic-Con has ever seen.
That's
Right.
so mean, by the way. That's so mean.
Right. But so Duncan Jones was out there, and there are clips of him on the interwebs, kind of talking. I think either just before or just after the clip, and he was talking about, this is a monumental task to bring like a well-rounded story of World of Warcraft to theaters. I mean, condensing down this game that has thousands of characters and stories within it down to 2 hours. That has got to be an incredible amount of thought. I mean, behind exactly what that's going to entail, because that's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, and it's called cool. So, I mean, what do you do? He's got an idea.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be, I agree with Coltrane that it's good to sort of pull it to like I said, I kind of do represent the majority of players in World of Warcraft at the minute who aren't really super aware of that stuff. I mean, okay, within our sort of geek circle here, we're all friends, and a lot of us are aware of that stuff. But I think the wider World of Warcraft audience, people don't read quest texts, you guys. No one does that.
I don't read quest texts.
Just the geeks.
I don't.
The geeks who do that
I don't read it
quest
either.
thing. Nobody reads. They should just stop writing that stuff. It saves so much money.
I got it. Olivia, why do we disagree about everything? Just because you don't read quest text doesn't mean that for those that do, they don't really enjoy it. Quest text is amazing if you actually take the time to read it. There's so much amazing lore in World of Warcraft that so many people miss, and it bothers me. It bothers me to no end that people miss it.
And this
it's just not how I play the game.
And this will get your goat a little bit more. Dave Kozak, get out of here. We don't need story. We don't need anything. Just get out of here. We just want to kill 10 mobs and bring it back to the guy and say that we're done with the quest. That's it.
You want the quest to just say accept in giant letters.
Get me 10 of these. You get them from the crocodile. Get me 10 gizzards for those.
All right, I'm moving this. We're moving on. We're moving over this ridiculous topic. No. What would you guys have liked to see in the storyline if not the first war?
I want to see Elaria and Turalyon, because the tip screen keeps telling me that we haven't heard from them in some time, and I'd like to know where they went and what the heck is going on with those guys and what the heck went on with them in the first place, because I just keep seeing this. No one's heard from Elaria or Turalyon in some time. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Why is this relevant? Who are these people?
Right.
You know how you know if it was relevant? You read the quest text.
That's right. There it is. Boom.
Oh, I got owned.
You just got shafted.
I did. I just got shafted.
Snap.
You know what? You know what I'd like if they weren't going to be doing Third War. Maybe, just maybe, they would tell, I don't know, a story about Vol'jin. Maybe tell the story about Jaina Proudmoore right around the time that Theramore got blown up. But since they're not, you know what you can do to get those same amazing stories? You guys can head over to audible.com.
I sensed a segue.
You guys can head over to audible.com and check out the awesome books that they've got over there. They've got amazing audiobooks all about World of Warcraft. This Vol'jin book actually just came out, I believe, last month. Blizzard actually gave us a copy. Missy just went nuts for it when she got it. And I think they gave it to us when we had the fan site mixer a month ago or so. So this is a brand new World of Warcraft book that's available right now on Audible. But I think chat room has a big request. Coltrane, can we like petition to have you as one of the narrators for the WoW books, because everybody loves your voice right now.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sure.
Right.
Well, the story that I'm interested in is the mystery of the dance studio. I'm wondering if that could be in the movie. That would be amazing.
That would be.
But that's it. Actually, that's kind of sort of brings us back to something that I saw in chat room earlier from someone called, I think it was Yarb23. Apologies if I remember that wrong. It was quite a while earlier. Is it something that if they have the sort of current stories, Warcraft lore fans, and I know a few of you guys, and I love you dearly, but man, you pick holes. And they're just going to sit there going, no, Steve,
right.
No, that wasn't how it happened. This is wrong because X, Y, and Z. And to do something which is maybe a little, and there's definitely still going to be people who pick holes in this storyline. Whatever they do, people are going to pick holes in it. And so I think that in that way, it's good to sort of take it back a little bit earlier, where it's not quite so well known, perhaps. But the one thing that this guy said in chat room is that people are going to be looking for it for references. Like, they're going to be looking for a floating skull to be like bobbing around the place, and they're going to be looking for like a Josh Allen with crazy hair in the background. They're going to be looking for a talking tree, like that sort of pop culture reference thing, but for a WoW audience. That's something they should totally do. And I think that person in chat room had a great idea.
Right. You know,
I think you guys are missing the fact that I was completely trying to pivot to an ad, because audible.com, let me tell you about it. Super amazing service.
It's
they got
good.
awesome. They got awesome World of Warcraft books. Have you guys checked out any of these books yet?
Yeah, I've checked out what was it, Storm Rage a little bit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just started that, and I did the Jaina Proudmoore one earlier. So they're
Awesome.
both great books. Yeah, I like them a lot.
It really does. I mean, honestly, I can't stress it enough. I really am a big lore whore when it comes to World of Warcraft. I'll lose myself in for hours navigating through wikis, but I don't need to with Audible. It's almost the same thing. I can get a whole bunch of amazing lore of these World of Warcraft books pretty much read to me while I'm driving to work, or I'll be working on graphics in the evening, and I'll just put on an audiobook, and it's great. And they've got amazing books for a lot of different talents. If you're not a World of Warcraft fan, I don't know why you're watching this show, but they've got hundreds of books outside of World of Warcraft, but specifically, I just wanted to showcase to you guys, they now have 4 World of Warcraft books available. And if you guys head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker, you guys will get a free 30 days, and you can pick up a free audiobook. So do yourself a favor, pick up that new Vol'jin book and a free 30-day trial of Audible.
That's going to be a good one. I mean, that kind of explains where Vol'jin is at right now. So, I mean, that is kind of the one to get if you really want one, and you are totally into everything that's been happening in this last patch. Get the Vol'jin book. Get it.
He's at Razor Hill, guys.
It's not as good as inside the dance studio, but
no.
And that's as much as Olivia knows, because she doesn't read quest text. He's at Razor Hill because I saw him there.
He's a troll. I saw him at Razor Hill. He gave me some stuff to do.
You don't need to read quest text to get Audible. That's all I'm saying.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks.
Hey, what if
Audible
should employ Coltrane to read quest text to people in WoW?
They do
That'd
it.
Be awesome.
Everybody would listen to it.
Awesome.
Everybody would listen to it.
Hey, go
put on your
get
parachute pants. Now, the running man. Like, yeah, absolutely. I'm ready. Read quest text to you.
Let's move on. let's move on here. Next up, let's get serious. Straight face.
Serious
Happy
faces.
face.
Straight face.
Here we go.
Yes.
The mic got in the way. The wipe kind of sucked. There was an investor call today reporting about the most recent quarter. Right at the end of last week's show, we had some breaking news that reported that the latest sub numbers were in, and that they had dropped from 8.3 to 7.7, a $600,000 sub drop. Now, Blizzard has come out on their investor call and clarified that the sub drop was actually pretty evenly distributed across Asia and the West. And we were asking for this. We were talking about this, where are the subs going? And it looks like they've reported that it's kind of a little bit of both.
Thank you, Blizzard, for listening to us.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what happened.
Thank
That's
you.
obviously what happened is they saw Legendary, like, yeah, we should totally do that.
I said we should do stuff, and then they do stuff. Isn't that awesome? I love it. I love it.
Buff Shaman.
Yeah.
Druids.
No. Druids. Buff druids, obviously.
Because I'm in control and I can just mute you all.
We're going to be being serious. Let's be serious.
Oh yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
Serious.
All right.
Serious.
So the last sub drop was the big one of 1.3 million, was concentrated in the Asian market, is what they said. So what do you guys make of this? Is this maybe why they're specifically trying to target the Eastern market with the cash shop items?
I really do think so. I mean, I think that they've got to do something. And the recent deal, the recent buyback of the stocks and stuff like that from Vivendi, that is also a good thing because Tencent is involved, and Tencent is huge in Asia, right? So Tencent is going to allow them to hopefully be a little bit more of a presence in the East, as well as these cash shop items. I think that they're on the right track, and this is something that I'm kind of hopeful for as we move down the road. So
Is 10 cent like 50 cent? Like
that's right.
Is that what this
That's
is?
right.
It's
That's exactly.
it's 1/5 of
exactly
50
it.
cent. It,
Got
50
it.
cents like 50 cents like a Megazord. 10 cent
That's
is just one piece.
Gotcha.
of
Vitamin
the
water.
Megazord.
Right.
I
Go
know it's
ahead.
kind of odd to me. Like, I think obviously they've known about, like, these figures won't have been a surprise to Blizzard when they came out to us. Like, they'd have known about these figures for some time. And I think it's interesting that they've chosen to actually elucidate them now rather than back when they were saying previously, oh, this is like mostly the Asian servers. So it seems to be pretty obvious that the cash shop is a response to the Asian server subdrop. But it makes it, I think, Coltrane's conspiracy theory is becoming more and more like a theory rather than a conspiracy theory when they reveal things like this. So, but I'm wondering whether the introduction of a cash shop is going to have a negative or a positive impact on subs in the West. Because obviously it's something that the Asian market's screaming for. But I don't know whether it's going to sort of swing things one way or the other in the West. I mean, the coverage it's getting has been great. Like, everyone's talking about Warcraft. So
What about the
interesting to
bleed?
see.
What about the bleed in the West? I mean, is it just simply we're seeing people drop because it's old and people are moving on with their lives or moving on with into different games? Is that what's to contribute to the West, or do you guys think it's any other factor?
I think that there are a lot of factors, actually. I mean, you can talk about the age of the game if you want, and that is definitely a consideration. You can talk about competition, which is another thing that has really come up in the last couple of years, especially with free-to-play models and buy-to-play models that are coming out now that are really viable with really good games. And it's not necessarily that there's one game. It's going to be death of 1,000 cuts, if you will. I mean, it's going to be that there are hundreds of games that are pulling people away, not just one game. And then there's also the age of the audience, right? So the age of the average WoW player has gone up along the way since its inception. And with that, I mean, comes more responsibility. People get married, people have kids, and they have less time for gaming. So, I mean, there's a lot of different factors that could go into why they're losing subs, why now. And it's just kind of, I think there's a lot of different reasons. So
I agree. Yeah, as things change. Honey, I'm doing legendary. Give me a minute. Sorry. But yeah, you're right. As things change, you get married, you have kids, gamers themselves, we've kind of grown up. You know what I mean? We've got new responsibilities now. The one thing, though, I think the Blizzard has changed with Mists of Pandaria is how quickly content is coming out. Like this, it's just bing, bang, boom. content. So, I mean, they're saying that they're staying committed to their player base, but I think that's been a huge positive for this game. But, you know, we got another expansion coming. So that's going to be now level 95. So they're coming out with this experience buff. These are still for new players, 1 to 95. But the one thing that Blizzard is doing is they're releasing content faster and quicker, which I think is a good thing. I mean, do you think that the opposite could happen? That is this causing maybe more burnout because there's so much stuff? Is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's sort of like I found Mists of Pandaria has been a really weird expansion because it's just sort of been so many extremes. Like they wanted to sort of obviously correct the problem at the end of Cataclysm where no one had anything to do. So they, you know, obviously they went way too far in the opposite direction with the daily quests and all the content and that sort of thing. And I think, I mean, obviously there's all these other factors. There's other games. There's different subscription models which are now de rigueur rather than the previous time when the subscription was kind of normal. There's the fact that the gamers are getting older. They're moving on with their lives. They're having kids and not necessarily having time to play Warcraft anymore. And there's various factors here. But I think that, you know, you've got to look at the sort of the content as well and whether like the constant rate of change is actually pushing people away, whether there's too much going on. But then on the other hand, you probably lose more people if there was too little going on. And we'll see, like they've said that the Mists of Pandaria recent patches have been very good for what they've called subscriber churn, which I don't know precisely what that means, but I'm assuming it's sort of like the in and out, like a revolving door. Like there's been a lot of people who've sort of gone, no, but then there's a whole lot of people who've come back as well. And that's got to be a good thing. Because, I mean, I think for them, they've got to look now with a 9-year-old game at pulling people back in who've left. Because, like, everyone's, you know, anyone who's like a PC gamer who does MMOs has played this game at some point. Like, you know, show me an MMO gamer who hasn't played World of Warcraft.
And I think it was sometime during Cataclysm, or maybe it was towards the end of Wrath, where they said that more people used to play World of Warcraft than are currently playing World of Warcraft, something like that. I mean, so it's kind of cool that we have all of these people that have played this game over the years, which is great. Now it's just a question of bringing some of those people back in that may, you know, maybe their kids have grown up a little bit, so now maybe they can get some game time in, other stuff like that, where people can kind of sneak back into game and get those guys back and involved in this game. Because, I mean, I tell you, man, from my perspective, Mists of Pandaria, pretty fun.
Yeah, well, I wonder, too, is the story going to help those older people as well? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if they do, remember there was rumors about like a lesser charms thing, you know what I mean? Like we're saying that older gamers now don't have as much time. So you don't have time now to do your lesser charms, to get your this, your that. So maybe that could help, you know what I mean? It's extra cash, and it kind of helps you as a gamer to get more stuff done. It's a funny thing about MMOs. You have to like associate. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, and I want to let you finish, but does that taint the experience for the player who does have the time? Let's look at the raiders who I don't say have all the time in the world, but who are taking all the time to prep for a raid. Does it? And we've said this before, and it's scary to think that maybe hardcore raiding guilds will mandatorily enforce people to buy lesser charms of good fortune because you need the extra rolls.
Right. And they can spend that time doing other things like leveling up their alts or doing this or that, you know, for their hardcore raiding guild. When they can just purchase. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, and when you're talking about hardcore raiding, it's not necessarily a question of anything other than time. Anything that you do in game is going to put you behind. So if you have to spend time doing dailies or getting charms or whatever the heck it is, you're going to be wasting time, precious time that could be spent on the boss, on whatever, you know, progression boss you're on at that moment. And so that's kind of always the concern when it comes to hardcore raiders. At the same point, hardcore raiding is, you know, 1% of the community. Does a subscription model really favor a hardcore raider? No, not really. A free-to-play model, that really kind of goes to the hardcore raider, or the hardcore player, I should say, because then you can buy all your stuff in the cash shop and you can be good to go. But hardcore players in WoW have a little bit more of an uphill grind because you're in the minority by a lot. So, sorry. but we have a lot of subscriptions to get to. You know, we have to take care of all of our other people too. So I don't know.
So Coltrane, where were you going with that? I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I completely forgot at this point.
Shafik got all Kanye West, and he's just like, I'm going to let you finish, Coltrane.
That's right. I got Shafik.
I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish.
I would like to say one thing, chat room. I am aware that the max level is 90. I was saying that in the next expansion, 95. I just
come on, Coltrane. If you're going to come on Legendary, you got to at least know what the max level is. You got to know what
the max level is. Come on,
That's right. Exactly.
Even Gary knows what the max level is.
Play this game?
Yeah, he doesn't play. It's fine. No. It's all right.
It's all right. None of us do. It's just
I don't know what this
We're just very good at research.
That's right.
All right. So, so during the QA portion of the call, Blizzard fielded a couple questions that are concerning kind of its future outlook on WoW. And in light of declining activity and with Project Titan still on the horizon, Blizzard answered that it was committed to its existing World of Warcraft player base and that it was looking to regain some of its lost subscribers by enhancing existing social features. Do you guys have any estimations as to what this would be?
Flex rating. What else? There's so many things where I look at it and I go, this could the virtual realms thing could be really great for social systems within the game. That's great. And flex rating I think is another great add-on for social stuff. All this, it seems like they have recommitted to that, and I love it. I love hearing about those new features. At least I don't know if there's anything else though, guys.
Yeah, like because they say social features, and it starts making me think about obviously things like the BattleNet side of things. Like obviously, like Pat's, all of the things that Pat just said are totally valid responses to that. But like my first train of thought like went off on the sort of BattleNet. So what more could they do with BattleNet? Could they do some more? Like they tried Facebook integration before, and that went down like a ton of bricks. So maybe they won't try that again. But maybe there's some element of it there that is interesting. And actually, the Timeless Isle is a great social thing as well. And you'll have to bear with me a second while I explain it because it's a bit weird that it's just like it feels like solo content. Because like come on brain Isle of Thunder, like you had all these rares which you kind of needed more than one person to kill unless you were a specific class or very high geared. And you had all these groups saying, hey, let's Goda's up, this gon's up, this sort of annoying guy on the beach is up, let's go over here. And because the Timeless Isle is all like that, it sort of encourages the social side of things, like with the exception of the legendary boss, it doesn't.
And the fact that there are no actual quests there either. So if you want to do something, you gotta go and explore and figure out whether or not you can defeat it by yourself, and if not, then you gotta grab other people. So
exactly, it's like, but it's really cool as well. Like this sort of, did you see this thing that's over here, and did you see that item that's over there, and I honestly was like getting annoyed with me because I was raving so much about this on a video recently. I'm so excited about the Timeless Isle. I can't wait for it to go live. It's so cool.
But I saw that as well. I saw people in the zone saying, hey, where do you go? Come meet me over here. Or where do you go for this? And it's encouraging groups to form together and people to get together. And you know what? You even see it like Battlefield Barons, as simple as that. Commanders, you get like this group of people that kill commanders, and you go from one to the other. And same type deal in Timeless Isle. So it encourages grouping and kind of that social atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. Like, for example, I was on the PTR recently, and there was a warrior by the name of Pancakes, who had this item that sent these giant freaking spikes up into the air. And everyone was like, oh, where did you get that item? That's so cool. That's so cool. He's like, oh, let me show you. And we all went off and we all killed some mobs. And then we all, tried to get the item. And it was like, instant friends. And it was really cool. It was a really fun experience. And I still want the item. And I'm totally going to stealth over there and get it.
And you met Pancakes. I mean, Pancakes.
The only thing better would be Waffles, right?
Waffles the warrior.
I don't know.
All right, so that wasn't the only thing that came out in the investor call. We actually got a little bit more info on Project Titan as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We'll call this, I don't know, this segment of Legendary is now labeled Titan. The least secret of secret projects Titan is not only was not discussed in any detail, but Blizzard boss Mike Morhaime said that a couple things about it. First up, he said that that Titan has not officially been announced, nor does it have a projected release date, which is kind of to be expected considering we found out a month or two ago that they like pulled the plug and went back to almost square one, or they really went back to revamp the whole thing. So that's really not a shocker.
Right.
What's more, Morheim added that while they can't talk about the details yet, it is unlikely to be subscription based. So, does that make my assumption that this was possibly a pivot to free to play true?
Yes.
Why don't you have a dramatic gopher, Mike Shafter? You're letting the side down.
I don't know, because that's Gary's shtick and not mine. I didn't have it queued. I wasn't ready.
You know what?
And then if I use it, I'll get yelled at.
Well, yeah, I don't know. And he actually said, like, that's the direct quote was, it's unlikely to be a sub-based MMORPG. So there's some people like out there on the internet who are like, does this mean it's not an MMORPG? Does this mean that there's everything that we thought of is completely incorrect? It's not releasing in 2016 at all. It doesn't have a sub, and it's not an MMORPG.
Right.
Just because it's not sub-based, it's nothing you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So they've basically taken the whole idea, thrown it out, and they're making an FPS game for the Xbox.
It's called Destiny.
Yeah, it's Animal Crossing 2.
Yeah. It's just something for the iPhone now.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's an iPhone game. But yeah, I don't know, like, will Titan be free to play? It makes sense. Like, either free to play or buy to play. Like, there's subs are just disappearing. Subs are dying out. Like, they're becoming less and less and less regular, and there are fewer and fewer games with them. So it makes perfect sense. Like, why would they go with the sort of like the model that's dying? Just, I mean, they feel that it's going to be that amazing that people are going to be like, well, just because we're Blizzard and we're really good at making games and people pay for those games on a monthly basis, and they have been for years, let's just try it and see how we go, eh? And like, you can't, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen anymore. Like, people aren't going to jump into a brand new game. With WoW, it's different because it's been around for so long. People are invested.
Right.
But a new game, I don't think that I would sort of throw my hat in and say it's going to be either free to play or buy to play. And that's categorically correct.
So now when you throw your hat in, does your hat cost $15?
That's right. Cosmetic.
I will sacrifice my monitor to punch you in the face.
That's angry.
That is angry.
So much rage. I warned you.
Olivia Smash!
Olivia Smash! Use the whole can.
The thing is, too, is that most gamers, you know, like in the sub-based program, paying for 2 MMOs at once, that's expensive. That's $30 a month. You know what I mean? So that's just crazy. And I would assume, I mean, WoW, yes, the subs are dying, but if WoW's still around, they're in competition with themselves. Like, it just doesn't seem to make sense, you know, and then 2 subs are just too expensive for, I think, for a lot of people. So I think free-to-play would probably be the only way.
Could this indicate a possible switch? I mean, we've talked about it before. I've made the assumption that WoW will go free-to-play right before or right just like 6 months to maybe a year before Titan comes out. Do you think that if it's not sub-based and it's free to play, that means at some point we're going to probably have to see it for WoW, right? Because if Titan launches and it's free to play, how many Blizzard fans are going to still be playing World of Warcraft if it's sub-based?
I do think that that's probably right, Mike. I think that sounds right to my ears, that at some point they're going to have to change the model. And it's not necessarily going to be based on how many subs they have. Of course, if they jump up to 12 million again, they're probably not going to look back, and they're just going to say, oh, screw it, we're going to go subs for now. But I think that there's been a big change in the gaming culture over the last, let's say, 5 years, where we've seen so many games try the sub method and not have it work for them. And I think that any new game that comes along the way, like what Olivia was saying, is absolutely not going to be a sub-based game for very long. They're going to find that same kind of trouble that every other MMO has had with trying to get subscriptions.
Well, consider one thing, though, that a lot of the reason, too, people play WoW is because all their friends play WoW. You know, that's like where their friends are, their guild is, their community is. So if another game comes out, you know, some, like, let's say you've got a core group, right? Some will try out this new game, but the majority of people, somewhat, they stay in WoW because that's where everybody's at. So I don't know. I think that people would stay with WoW because that's where, and that's why I think WoW is going to last for a long time, because you've built relationships, you know, with people. You built communities, and these are eternal. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. And I think that what Mike Morhaime has been trying to say here is that don't put too much weight on that 2016 date. Like that's he's sort of, you know, I think he's trying to sort of squash that rumor, that it's going to be coming in 2016. That, you know, we're counting down the episodes of Legendary before we can stop forever. And it's just like, you know, don't put too much weight on that. But I can see WoW just carrying on, just like, because like you know, whenever a new game comes out, like when Guild Wars 2 came out, it's a fine example of this. Like I have a bunch of friends, we're all quite into, like a lot of us are quite into PvP. So we were like, right, let's decamp temporarily. You know, we know we're coming back to WoW. We know we're coming back.
Right.
We're not going to leave WoW.
Right.
But we just go and check out Guild Wars 2 for a while. And then slowly people just drift back to WoW as they're like, well, I like this about Guild Wars 2. This aspect of Guild Wars 2 is really cool. I really enjoy this aspect. But there's only like the 9 of us who went at all into Guild Wars 2. And, you know, Bob the Warlock's already gone back to WoW. The 2 rogues have gone back to WoW. And it's getting tiresome now with just the 3 of us here. And it's like, that's what happens. And will that happen with Titan? I don't know. I think Blizzard need to be very clever. And like they've mentioned this briefly before, of working out a way to transfer people from WoW, like almost pull them. And I even think, like from memory, people mentioned like a character port from WoW into Titan.
Right,
So you can they need to be very clever with that and make it a very seamless link across the two, or they're gonna find that people aren't so sort of keen to leave WoW otherwise. It's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. Whether people continue to pay for WoW after a free-to-play Blizzard game comes out, I can see it happening. I can see them keeping the subscription model up until they hit a certain low of subscribers.
Yeah, because that community is still going to be playing WoW. That's all your friends are going to play, so you'll stay.
Hey, I'm not saying that it's going to be like immediate. I'm not going to say, oh, next month WoW is going to go free to play or anything like that.
But I'm saying that's exactly what you're saying.
Down the line, what's going to end up happening is that they're going to probably find that there's more benefit to go free to play than there is to stay as a sub-based game. And what that line is, I don't know. And I don't know when that's going to happen. I would think that may happen before Titan comes out. But again, Titan's not coming out for a while. We have a ways to wait. So we'll see what ends up happening down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last up, right before the show went live, there were a bunch of items added to patch 5.4. And usually that happens occasionally. We have a bunch of news that drops right before the show. We're scrambling to get it together. I'll tell you about those items in a second. But that's why, if you guys don't know, I started a show called Waypoints to kind of address it. It runs halfway across from Legendary, so it airs on Tuesdays for you guys to tell you more information. Quick, short, informative World of Warcraft news and information, and just quick little bits to show you guys.
On this week's episode of Waypoint, Vivendi splits from Blizzard, Battlecoin currency, PTR testing, and multiple LFR.
Don't lie, you would have done it too.
Man, that guy. Yeah! What's up, guys, and welcome to Waypoint, your weekly World of Warcraft recap for July 29th, 2013. I'm your host, Mike Schaffner. Monumental news broke out during Legendary last week when Activision Blizzard announced a plan to buy back 429 shares from its parent company, Vivendi.
I forgot to say million. But as you guys see, it's just quick information. It's about 10 minutes long. It's totally worth your guys' time, so check it out on Tuesdays. But the reason I wanted to actually show you guys this specifically leads into, of course, my amazing segues. I mean, come on here. Look at this. Look at this amazing blood splatter. You want to know where you get awesome blood splatters? You go over to Shutterstock.com. Bam! All you got to do is head over to the footage portion of Shutterstock. You type in blood splatter. What are these? Oh, awesome blood splatters that you can use for compositing effects like killing yourself. It's great.
Perfect. That's awesome. In the description.
It's in the description. Shutterstock has just so many, like 20 million photos, vectors, video clips, a lot of stuff that's matted. I mean, Coltrane, you work in trailers, and you probably know more than anyone how much stock footage actually gets used in the creative world. It's more than you could think of.
Absolutely.
Because the amount of time it takes to do stuff yourself is just not worth it. You can get it over to shutterstock.com and purchase it yourself.
Absolutely. It's the best way to go. I mean, I use it every single day. So this is a great thing. Absolutely.
And I've been using it. Like I said, I've been kind of preaching this myself. I've also been working on graphics for intro graphics for a horror movie. So I needed some really awesome kind of title card-esque ink elements. So ink bleeds are all over Shutterstock, so you can get different kind of looks and kind of really create those awesome environments. And it's just an amazing tool. Any creative person out there definitely needs to know about it. And if you guys head over to shutterstock.com right now and use the promo code GameBreaker7, you'll get 30% off your new accounts. So head on over and do so right now. All right. I told you guys that we get to these items that came out, patch 5.4. We usually don't talk about this. We usually don't talk about items and patch notes. That's what Waypoint's for. But the item names refer to a bunch of WoW community members, including our own Olivia. So, Olivia, I think I know this. I think I saw the tweet about this.
There's no need for copying.
I think I saw the tweet about this, but I gotta admit, it sounds good. It's got a nice ring to it.
I was so excited.
So what is it?
I was trying to write the show. It's a shaman hat. My hat rage has diminished substantially thanks to this hat. It's a shaman. It's an intellect. It's a resto shaman hat. So it's an intellect spirit crit hat. 559, and it's called Olivia's Graceful Gaze, which is pretty cool. And I was I still sort of like.
And it looks like a wolf.
It's a wolf hat. It's pretty cool, and it's the same model as the PvP items, which I appreciate.
Right.
I was completely blown away. Like, wow, really? That's amazing.
That's awesome. You're now immortal.
I am immortal. Finally.
Immortal.
God, finally immortal. That Warcraft had better never actually die, because it'll ruin my immortality.
Right.
So either Blizzard absolutely loves Olivia Grace, which I'm not denying. Maybe they do, but there were other community members that
there's a ton of other people
items as well, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of other people. So Derevka, who's a well-known healing priest, got a cloth belt. There's a one called Damien's Ice Vein Mask, which seems to sort of link to icy veins. Another well-known shaman called Binkenstein got a belt.
That's great.
Matt Rossi from WoW Insider got some shoulders, and Stickney from WoW Insider got a leather hat. And again, these are all things that are associated with their characters that they play. And it's so cool. Like, this is one of the things that people love about Blizzard, is they're so good at sort of linking with the community and pulling people into the game. And it's really awesome, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and they've done stuff like this before with a bunch of different other items. We've seen people from the instance, and gosh, I can't even remember. The list is pretty long as far as.
Like Peculiar got one. Wowhead's Peculiar got one last time around. Frostheim. Thek had a ring in Firelands, even, because I got that ring on my Paladin tank. I was like, oh, it's Thek's Everseal. There we go. I even remember what it's called.
That's cool.
Yeah, they do it a lot, and it's pretty cool.
That's like the greatest thing ever. Like you can't, like, you've peaked. That's like amazing.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here. It's over now. I should just quit while I'm ahead.
That's what's so awesome about Blizzard. I mean, they're in touch with their fan base so much. I mean, for me, the one that I remember off the top of my head is Red Shirt Guy. Obviously, that was something monumental. He ends up getting he gets a character in the game. It's not even just an item. He's in the game, technically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's really awesome. And Blizzard, it's always great to see you guys reaching out to a community like that. So, I'm sure we all appreciate it.
And just as another note, Blizzard, there are 3 other members of this cast here that
I wasn't gonna say it, but hey, if you're gonna jump on that, what's going on, Blizzard?
Sure.
Come on.
I'm not trying to take away from Olivia's moment in the sun. I'm just saying.
Oh, jeez. I apologize. I'm so sorry. The CTR rubbing off on him.
Right, exactly. All right, let's hit up some of your questions and get out of here. So remember, guys, every week we answer your questions. So keep an eye on Facebook, or you can send them in to submit at gamebreaker.tv. We also love video questions, and we've actually got 2 for you this week. So keep sending them in. This week, a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Mr. Tim Allen, wanted to come by and ask us a question. So,
hello, legendary crew. Buzz Lightyear here. Couple of questions for you guys. Number 1, do you think WoW should have an in-game voice system similar to League of Legends or HON? It'd be nice when partying up with randoms or forming a pug for a heroic scenario to be able to talk to each other rather than type everything out or set up an event. My second question is, on a previous episode, I heard Olivia mention how PvP is not balanced for world PvP. But if you think about it, when it comes to PvE, it is not balanced for world PvE, such as questing or raid outdoor world bosses. It's balanced towards indoor instance content like raids. So why would PvP be balanced for world PvP? It should be balanced for instance PvP, which is battlegrounds and arenas. Love the show. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.
So first off, he said that PvP is not balanced for world PvP, but PvE is balanced towards. But should that be when PvE is balanced towards raiding? I think Josh made a really interesting post, and then I'll let you guys answer it. But I remember this specifically from Waypoint. Josh made a really interesting post, I think just this last week, where he talked about world PvP and how it's inherently never fair, and it's not. World PvP is not. You either have more numbers, you're either jumping on someone when they're not ready. You have to design for the control, and the control with PvE is raiding. The control for PvP is most likely battlegrounds or arenas. Most likely, I think arenas more than battlegrounds. But that's why I think that we have the design that we do. That's why they can't design for world PvP, is because there's just no control there. It exponentially gets out of control the more people that you add.
Yeah, it's more, they call it like Gankfest 2013. Like, that's world PvP, essentially. Right, so yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, see, funny enough, Mike, weirdly enough, I don't completely agree with you. This almost never happens.
It's like you and I
almost
completely
never.
disagree.
It's like it's almost never the case that we are completely
just
agreed
for the
on
record,
things. But
just
this
for the
is one
record,
of those rare
you're not
occasions.
just disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with Mr. Josh Allen, because that was basically his words, not mine. I agree with
Don't
them.
make the hair angry.
His
I
words.
can disagree with Mr. Josh Allen. I'm
Fire
fine with
Kitty
that.
be mad. Fire Kitty's mad now.
He's gonna burn my house down. But I don't like. Yes, it's often unfair. World PvP is often unfair. Doesn't mean that the solution is to make it more unfair. Like, it doesn't mean that the answer to an unfair system is to make it less fair. Like, that's not how it should work. And people who have PvP gear should have an equal or frankly better chance at success in world PvP than people in PvE gear. Like, is there a logical disconnect that I'm failing to see here because of the color of my hair? Like, this doesn't make sense. And yes, I do agree with Shafnet that they should balance around the control. They should definitely, they shouldn't be balancing PvP around world PvP, because like class balance around world PvP, that would be bizarre. And they should definitely be balancing like class balance and that sort of thing around arenas, around battlegrounds. But they should still be making it so that PvP gear is good at PvPing. And that's not the case at the moment because of how the item levels go, the scaling, and all of that sort of stuff. Like, PvP gear should be at least as good at raiding gear at world PvP. And so if I disagree with Josh on that, then so be it. But I think he's wrong.
Well, I think you're talking about two different things there, Liv. I think that you're talking about gear, which I totally understand and I get, and I am totally supportive of. And he's talking about how unfair world PvP is just in general, and I totally agree with that as well. So I can see both sides of this. I mean,
I think Josh's response was relating to gear as well, though.
It was slightly about item levels. It was a management of item levels, and he went on to talk about how Blizzard does acknowledge that they don't like the fact that you feel you lost just because of a few item levels, and they are looking to do something about it, just not in patch 5.4.
Yeah, indeed.
I do wish that PvP items would be better for PvP than PvE items. I mean, and this is coming from a raider. This is coming from a guy that doesn't have. I think I have maybe a couple of PvP pieces, but that's about it. So I kind of want there to be a reason to go in there more and to be able to fight with other folks and grind that gear and do the whole PvP thing, because I think that's a fun experience. That's a really great experience for a lot of people. And if PvE gear is the better way to go, then you're gonna hop into raid to go PvP. That doesn't make any sense.
I tend to get the PvP gear so I have the item level for LFR. That's
Right. I hear you on that one.
You and everyone else.
Right.
I think everyone else does that too. I don't think you're alone in that. And I don't know whether we've really answered Buzz Lightyear's question or not.
Oh, the first one.
The first one, there's already a voice chat system in WoW. It's terrible. The reason you don't know about it, Buzz, is because nobody uses it because it's awful.
I used it once. And then I turned it off because it was
added. That was added back in Burning Crusade, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think it wasn't there that patch that literally brought in the voice chat and nothing else. Did I just make that up?
You might have. I just remember being in Hellfire Peninsula because I just remember being in Hellfire Peninsula because it was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. Love you, Outlands.
Outlands. Outlands. Big O.
Yeah, big O.
Big O, baby.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next question here. Core Gaming had this to say.
Hey guys, Greg here again.
Production value.
You guys, a simple question like, do you guys think maybe in the next 6 to 12 months World of Warcraft might go free to play? Now, last week you guys were talking a little bit more about that, and Gary actually said, what if? Maybe we're wrong. Maybe that might happen. But a few weeks ago when I asked you that question, you guys shot me down, and it kind of stung a little bit. That's all right. That's why I'm back here again with a new theory for you guys. What if instead?
All right, hang on. Co-host the Waypoint right there. You could do it from wherever you're doing it. You're pretty much doing Waypoint for me.
Say Waypoint very quietly. Could you possibly turn him up some?
I have no idea how to turn him up to you guys. He's good to chat. So
I don't know if chat room can hear him either. Chat room are yelling that they can't hear him.
I will see what I can do. I'll rewind it and start it over while I adjust knobs and make Gary angry.
Do you guys think maybe in the next 6 to 12 months World of Warcraft might go free to play? Now, last week you guys were talking a little bit more about that, and Gary actually said, what if? Maybe we're wrong. Maybe that might happen. But a few weeks ago when I asked you that question, you guys shot me down, and it kind of stung a little bit. That's all right. That's why I'm back here again with a new theory for you guys. What if instead of World of Warcraft going free to play in the next 6 to 12 months, what if with the new expansion they actually just lower subscription costs? As a player, I want World of Warcraft to have a subscription fee because I want players that kind of have a fear in their mind, I don't want to break the rules or do anything bad to other people. I want to be friendly in this game because I don't want to get banned. Because if I get banned, not only am I going to lose my character and lose all my progress, all my achievements, everything I have, I'm also going to lose all the money that I put into this game. We really need the subscription fee, but does it need to be $15? If they're going to implement this new cash shop system and bring in more revenue that way, $15 hats, no thank you. So what do you think? Do you think World of Warcraft might be lowering their subscription fees coming soon?
Yeah. Whoa! Hey!
Hold on a sec.
Thanks again for picking my question, and thanks for all the great episodes. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right, can I just say, here's what I think. I think you need to start your own show. I don't know if you have your own show on YouTube, but you need to start your own show or something, because you got something there. I don't know. You've got a good show. You're expressing your opinions in an awesome, informed manner. You've got humor to boot. You've got jump cuts to funny moments. I just advice: start your own show because you're already on your way. Now thoughts to the question. What do you guys think?
About subscription fees going down? I can't see it right now. I mean, it's one of those things where we were talking about it earlier, I think, with, subs versus free-to-play model. I mean, there's no reason to change it right now. Maybe down the line, that's something that could happen, but I don't see it right now.
No, I'm kind of in agreement with that. Like, I could never say never, I guess.
Right.
But I can't see them doing it, certainly not in response to the cash shop. And I think one of the things that he said there was with the cash shop coming in, do you think that they'll be dropping the sub cost like at this point in order to compensate people for the additional money that they have to spend on hats? And
jeez Louise, there it is again.
Hat
I can't
rage!
resist.
Hat
I can't resist just bringing it up now. It's just making me laugh. But you know, like, will they do that? And the answer, I definitely can't see that happening. If this is an additional revenue stream for them, they're not going to compromise their main revenue stream based on a sort of speculative notion that people will buy a lot of enduring elixirs of wisdom for $1 a piece. And you know, they're not going to do that. They're not going to drop the sub fee. People are paying it, and maybe they would pull it. Like maybe there's a number in the internal systems. Like when World of Warcraft reaches 5 million subscribers, they'll pull the sub down a bit and see what happens there.
Yeah, I wonder, like, will a player that's quit WoW, if WoW now goes $10 a month, would that be enough to bring players back?
Mm.
You know?
But at what cost? Really? I mean, what's going to be the cost of that?
I think that in order to make that transition kind of happen, there have to be more quality of life, not pay to win, but there need to be more quality of life pieces in the cash shop to supplement the decrease in the subscription cost for them. Because right now, yes, they've got the Elixir of Enduring Wisdom, which I think isn't even in our market at the moment. But if they did release that, not everybody's leveling. So really, increased experience isn't going to, across the board, keep the revenue stream coming for them. And they might take an even larger hit unless they add more items like that people are willing to pay for.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think that actually someone makes a really good point sort of makes you think of a really good point in chat. Sirai in chat says, I'd pay $20 a month if I could move my character when I want to come back. And I can see them making those sorts of services cheaper. Like the sort of additional, like little additional revenue stream things there. Like I can see them pulling down the cost of character transfers, for example, or pulling down the cost of, you know, race changes, faction changes, name changes, those sorts of things. But I can't see them reducing the overall sub. And also in Europe, it's pretty cheap already.
Olivia Grace, you can follow her right down there at Olivia D. Grace. We've actually got a Twitter down there for her.
You got my Twitter? Oh, I love you guys.
Yeah. I had to make like all new ones for everybody. So I was like, we'll make one for Olivia, I guess. She only writes the show.
Nice. I'm sorry I argued with you.
No, you're not. Don't even kid. Pat Crane, you can follow him right down there at Pat Crane. Be sure to check out Convert to Raid.
Yes, please do.
Anything else you got? What are you guys talking about this week?
Obviously the same stuff? I have it's different stuff because it's rating and it's all about rating and stuff like that. So we'll talk about some different stuff anyway.
He really has no idea what we're doing.
I have no idea. all I do
5 hours ago.
All I do is
on Legendary. I don't know.
I just copy all of Olivia's notes and then I put them over to the CTR thing and then I just
stop sharing those with you now.
That's right.
Convert to Legendary seems like a whole real thing now.
That's right.
Coltrane, you can follow him right down there at _Coltrane. Catch him over there on CTR as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really had a great time. I really appreciate it.
I think everybody now at this point that wasn't aware of who you are wants audio books, physical manifestations of your voice so they can kiss it.
Actually,
I saw that in chat. People want to kiss your voice.
Quest text. I will listen to Quest text.
Actually, Mike, everybody should just get DBM, switch it over to the voice of Colt, and then you will be able to hear him count from 5 down to 1. It's already there. It's already there.
How crazy is that? Yeah, it's total geek out. Yeah, it's me going 5, 4. It's like it's great.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, gonna have to take care of that when I get home. You guys can follow me right down here at Mike Shaftnet. Like I said, please go check out Waypoints. It's a great supplement to your Warcraft news in the middle of the week on Tuesdays, as well as catch me over on After Dark. We could really use some new callers, so if you guys haven't checked out my show After Dark, we take live calls, anything related, not even just World of Warcraft, anything you guys want to call in and talk about, please check that out. We do that show live Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to follow @GameBreakerTV for all your MMO-related news. And quick announcement, for those of you that don't know, or maybe you do watch Twemo, we are not going live with it tomorrow. We're getting a special packaged version from Gary and Scott Hawks. They were over in SOE live in Vegas, so they've got something special about EverQuest next. So be sure to catch that on Twimo tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.